Hello and welcome to the AMSAT-DL Symposium 2020. My name is Matthias Bock. My call sign is Delta Delta 1 Uniform Sierra. I have the pleasure and honor to guide you through this symposium today. Unfortunately, this year we cannot conduct the symposium in the usual way in our headquarters in the Red Dome below the 20-meter dish in Bochum. But due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we had to go online. Actually, until beginning of this week, the organizers and the presenters had planned to meet in Bochum and stream the presentation live from there. Unfortunately, the situation in Bochum with respect to COVID-19 is becoming worse, and thus we are busy in the last days preparing the symposium completely online. Please bear with us if we might have some hopefully small technical or organizational hiccups. One of the benefits is that most of our presentations are in English, and we expect many attendees from abroad. We are streaming the symposium on the wideband transponder of Oscar 100 as well as on YouTube. YouTube has a time lag of about 30 seconds, which unfortunately we cannot control. We have prepared what we think an interesting program for you and hope that you will enjoy it. Before I will guide you through the agenda, I would like to explain also how to ask questions during the presentations. During each session, whether an interview or presentation, we will give you the chance to ask questions. You can write to us either in the chat window of the QO100 wideband spectrum monitor, kindly provided by BATC, or in the chat window next to the YouTube stream. Please note that you need an account on YouTube and a channel in order to be able to post anything in the chat window. Unfortunately, this is out of our control. We may not be able to ask all the questions you are posting to our presenters, as we have a quite busy schedule. I appreciate your kind understanding. Let me now introduce you to the agenda for today. We will start with an interview with the AMSAT-DL Board of Directors, our chairman Peter DB2OS, Michael DD5ER, and Thilo DJ5YM. Next, Thilo will give us a presentation and an introduction to the Bochum Observatory and its ham radio activities. Peter then next will give us an update about QO100, what happened the last year, and what is the present status. The Adal Pluto, as part of the AMSAT-DL QO100 control station in Bochum, will be introduced by Mario, DL5 MLO. And before the lunch break, I'll give a presentation about a portable station for QO100 based on the modules of AMSAT-DL. Around 12, about noontime, we will have a lunch break of about 45 minutes. Before Charlie, Delta Kilo 3 Zulu Lima, will present a very interesting presentation about his QO100D expedition to Namibia, South Africa, and Botswana, which happened earlier this year. Florian, DF2ET, will introduce the digital narrowband operations via QO100, before Peter DB2OS will introduce us to the AMSAT-DL Lunar project proposal, which we recently submitted to ESA. Around 1450, Oliver, the chairman of ARIS Europe, Delta Golf 6 Bravo Charlie Echo, will give us an update about the ARIS activity and the new AREX project. At 1540, we are planning a 15-minute break for coffee. And the last presentation will be given by Paul, M0EYT, Achim, Delta Hotel 2 Victor Alpha, and Daniel, Echo Alpha 4 Golf Papa Zulu, about the reception of the recently launched Mars probes. The final session will be another interview with the AMSAT-DL Board of Directors and conclusion. before we open the virtual Q100 user meeting, which is planned shortly before 6 p.m. And I will give more information about this later on how to access this and how to get into to the narrowband transponder Q chain. Florian, Delta Fox 2 Echo Tango, will manage this virtual user meeting on the narrowband transponder. So I would like to move to the first presentation. It's actually an interview with the AMSAT-DL Board of Directors with Peter, Michael, and Thilo. Let me quickly introduce Peter Gilsov, our AMSAT-DL president. He's our president since March 2001. He's the successor of Dr. Karl Mainzer, Delta Juliet 4, Zulu Charlie. Peter was inspired for space technology at a young age by the Apollo moon landings. His first contact with actually Helios satellites was during a school internship at a small electronics supplier. Peter got his amateur radio license in 1979. His call sign is Delta Bravo 2 Oscar Sierra. He studied communication technologies, and since 1983, he is what he called married with AMSAT-DL. He's really devoted to support AMSAT-DL. He was active on Oscar 7 and 8, received the US 1 telemetry. He was the first non-command station receiving and decoding Oscar 10 telemetry, and later he became AMSAT Oscar 10 command station. Peter was a member of the Oscar 13 and later also RS-14 design teams, especially focusing on the RODAC activities. He was heavily involved in the design of Oscar 40 and was the manager for the launch campaign in Kourou. He was not only the project leader of Oscar 100, but he also initiated the project with Qatar and convinced them to make QO100 happen. The second attendee in this interview will be Michael Lengrüser, Delta Delta 5 Echo Radio. Michael is a radio amateur since 1977. He's a long-term member of AMSAT-DL since 1999 and has been on the board of AMSAT-DL since 2004. He was part of the team which refurbished the 20-meter dish in Bochum and is taking care of the ground station in Bochum. Finally, Thilo Elsner, Delta Juliet 5 Yankee Mike, will join the interview. Thilo is a radio amateur since 1987, first as a Class C, and a year later he obtained the Class A license. At the age of 16 years, he set up a satellite reception station at his school, and I think from there he got infected by the radio virus. He has special interest in commercial communications engineering against the background of the social, cultural importance of space technology during the Cold War. And you will sense some of this during his presentation. Thilo is interested in professional satellite radio and remote sensing of the Earth. He is the director of the Bochum Observatory since 1999, and as a board member of AMSAT-DL since 2014, he is also the representative of AMSAT-DL at the Bochum Observatory. Other hobbies are historical agricultural machinery and vintage cars, model railways, vinyl records, and his two princesses, his daughters. Please join me welcoming Peter, Thilo, and Michael for the interview session. So let me start with Peter. Peter, what happened since the last symposium during the which happened last year? So within the last year's time frame, what are the latest news which you would like to mention?
Yeah, first of all, hello to everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. It's a pleasure to be here today. And Matthias already told everything. So thank you, Matthias, for your very kind introduction. Just a side note, if I look a little bit to the side, I'm watching here the YouTube stream. We have about 130 viewers there already. So I hope it will be an interesting day. unfortunately, due to the situation here everywhere with COVID-19, we had to change our plans. And I feel, I have to say this first, I feel very sorry for Matthias, Lenz, Jens, and the group there, which did a tremendous job in preparing actually our online symposium, which was originally planned more like a webinar from Bochum. So a really professional group. But even so, they managed within also Florian indeed, I forgot to mention him, and others indeed. So they did a tremendous job in the last 2 days to get this Zoom conference working here. Some of you who had a similar session really know what I mean. We have almost constantly the whole group here for the last 2 days doing a simulation and finding some things. It's always something surprising, but I hope everything will work well. So if something happens here with our video transmission, whatever, be in mind that this is our first online meeting ever, and let's see what we learn out from it. And I think that is a good thing of all. We are learning a lot here these days, and let's see what comes in the next years. Yeah, so Matthias was asking me what happened during the last year. So first of all, a lot of things, a lot of small things. I couldn't talk about everything, but indeed our Antarctic station was in the beginning of the year our most important project. So as you know, we sent equipment to Antarctica, to Delta Papa Zero Golf Victor November. That equipment was already prepared last year by a fantastic team here in AMSAT-DL, and hardware, software was prepared. Then everything had to send to Antarctica, and finally in February we had the first transmission there. So that was indeed a real good thing. And yeah, so the overwintering crew is now, the winter will end soon. They have been very active indeed with the scientific work, so amateur radio is not the primary job for them there. So, but anyhow, they have made some contacts already, and yeah, that is actually a very nice thing, which we in the next months and years will even expand. There are a lot of activities planned. There were already some school contacts, not as much as we hoped, but we will talk about that later. But yeah, we are at least very happy that we got that far. The DATV from Antarctica is not working yet, but anyhow, we already, in the short time we had, this was a tremendous success still for the whole team. I have to add also that there's always a big team behind that. So yeah, another topic is indeed, yeah, as you know, we run the AMSAT-DL shop, which is also a lot of work for those who manage that. Main focus to provide these kits for Q100 uplink and downlink, our converters, transverters. Now we have the 6-watt amplifier, so to give users an easier entry level to actually access Q100. Yeah, apart from that, we had several activities. We also had a so-called Q100 seminar in Kassel, in Baunatal, at the location of the DIRC headquarters. And we had a lot of people there getting training from the whole team, and it was also a really nice thing. Unfortunately, several activities we planned, like ham radio or the fair in Kassel, that were cancelled. We had to do that more or less online. So these are all these things which are happening. Indeed, there is more, like keeping the infrastructure in Bochum running, a job where Michael and Thilo are heavily involved. It's a lot of work there. We put some new fiber cables to improve the communication to our equipment. Hopefully in the future we can even do some live streaming from Mars, whatever. Then Thilo will probably also talk about that later on. We We are building a Satnox station in Bochum. Actually, we have already the first part running. There's more to do, but we are quite satisfied so far. We will discuss and explain about that even at a later time, but I have to say thank you to the LibreSpace group, which actually is running these Satnox database and servers. They did a tremendous job. I was running my own Satnox station for a little while, and I thought, okay, we have to say thank you to them. And by saying thank you, I mean we are supporting this project by creating our ground station and improving our ground station in Bochum, so that basically all the projects on VHF, UHF, maybe SHF could be accessed there and live stream or whatever, so that the whole community can also benefit from the, well, more or less quiet RF conditions there in Bochum. We had some problems with some local repeaters, but that will be also fixed soon. Yeah, then not forget to mention is indeed those 3 Mars missions we had this year. There was a lot of activity as well, also in Bochum. You will hear, and we are happy to have Daniel, Achim, Paul later here giving their presentation. So that was also a major thing for us to see how does it work. And we also learned a lot from that. For example, that polarization is not always left hand or right hand. And yeah, you will hear more about that. Another point was, we will also talk about that later, it was this Lunart proposal, so having an amateur radio transponder on the moon. This project came very actually lately to us. We did not really saw that. So actually Matthias noticed about that project, and within 3 weeks, or I think it was even less, I think it was 1 week, we prepared a complete presentation and proposal for this project. And otherwise, indeed, the COVID situation here in Germany also prevented us from doing some things we wanted to do, even in Bochum and elsewhere. But that's the situation this year. But anyhow, we will overcome that. So, by the way, I hope everyone listening here and families are safe and well. Take care about yourself. That is more important. Okay, so now we have the online symposium. So these are basically the things which come to my mind. But as I say, there is a lot of other things sometimes we forgot to mention because it's normal for us.
Thank you, Peter. Yeah, a lot of interesting things were happening apparently in the last year, and we will get some more details, like you mentioned, in the subsequent presentations. As probably not all people are so much aware about what AMSAT-DL is doing, this was very helpful. I would like to also ask you to shed a little bit of light to the roles and responsibilities of the AMSAT-DL board members, as probably some people are not so much aware of this. So you are 3 people on the board, and maybe you can explain a little bit how you split the work among your team.
Yeah, okay, Matthias. Well, that is sometimes hard to explain, but yeah, first of all, we are all volunteers. That is very important to say. But not only we are volunteers, we also have a great team. So without a good team around us, it would be just impossible. But still, it's a lot of work, especially for the 3 of us in the board of directors. And so what should I say? Maybe I should say every one of us is doing this in the free time. So sometimes I have been even asked on other exhibitions or when I was giving talks, if I do this as a full-time job. No, like my colleagues, this is, I would know, yeah, it's more than a hobby. It's a professional hobby maybe, but we are doing this entirely in our free time. We are not getting paid for what we are doing here. That is very important for everyone to know, I think. We are spending a lot of time from our free time or spare time, sometimes even vacation. And okay, it's not every day the same, but I think I can honestly say that every day I spend, and I guess my colleagues too, 3 to 6 hours of my time devoted to AMSAT. It's a lot of things. It's not only the things you see, it is also even the little things which take time, like answering emails or sorting emails, staying in contact with other people, staying in contact with a group, staying in contact with, let's say, launch providers, other things like that. So all the little things in the background to keep the network running, to keep the contact to the people. And so there's a lot of things like that. Apart from that, it's even, yeah, I think we all are the gardeners and caretakers of AMSAT. So all the little things, it's not worth to mention every detail, but apart from those things, yeah, indeed, my role in the organization is basically the administration, the international contacts, with, as I say, with all our partners to, yeah, to see how can we push the organization, where do we see possibilities for a satellite, for payload like Q100. Sometimes these things need a lot of preparation, a lot of contacts over a long time, convincing them to what are we doing. And yeah, so the little contacts are always very important. It's not, you can't, more or less having an organization like ours, doing rocket launches, to building satellites, operating them. It's not, money helps a lot, but it's not only money, it's the time you need for this. And sometimes people really have to think about it. So you really need the experts, the people with the knowledge, the people with the contacts. Contacts are very important, especially in our, but sometimes it helps that we are an organization completely non-profit with no commercial background. I can tell you sometimes this open doors which you normally don't expect. I will not say names here, but you know, we launched with several launch providers, and I know a lot of those people. Even I have personal contacts, so this is always good. But never forget, for them, it's a business. They have to run their business, and even if they wish, they cannot give us a free launch. But
Yeah, very
sometimes,
interesting.
yeah, sometimes it's like that. So yeah, apart from that, I also have to do some boring stuff like administration, being the webmaster of all our websites, the forum, shop, Twitter, Facebook, and all these things. That is also indeed time consuming. And indeed, we are looking forward also to share this with other people so that we hopefully in the future can also put this on more shoulders, but it's not so easy. Okay, now I was talking a lot about the so-called president, but never. I don't feel like a president. I mean, we are all the same. We are on the same level. Not, but okay, it's like that in the organization. So we have Michael, who is our second BOD, and Thilo, our third BOD member. So in the German rule, you always have these three people in the BOD. Indeed, Michael is taking care about the member administration, finances, even the shop. He is taking the orders, he checks other orders paid, he gives technical support in Bochum indeed, and there he is doing a lot. Like when we put the fiberglass cable and all the little things. Well, Michael can, I don't know if he want to talk more about that, but there is all the equipment which had to be run. There are changes on the equipment, replacement of hardware, replacement of the GP, SDO, and so on. And indeed, Thilo, he will give a presentation anyway after this. He is responsible for the Bochum Observatory infrastructure. Actually, we, AMSAT, are guests in his home. And so I think that is fine. So indeed, Thilo also have contact to Zero in the matter of, you see that behind him, this from space into the classroom. So he is taking care also about these educational contacts. He is taking care about the funding with DLR, the stereo funding. It's a lot of paperwork every year to get it running. And then also he has a team there. The shipment of the goods from our shop are done from Bochum. Indeed, there are local visitors coming. Actually, it is not during COVID now, but usually you can go to Bochum and visit the location, the dish and everything. There is a small exhibition running. Okay.
Okay,
so,
thank you, Peter.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of work, I imagine. So thank you all three of you for spending so much time and dedication to support AMSAT and bring it to the next level. I have a question. We are enjoying here the wideband transponder. We are streaming also the presentations and the whole symposium today. There are some problems with the beacon. Can you shed some light on this, please?
Yeah, okay, the beacon. So the beacon is the DATV. Well, I have to explain. The wideband DATV beacon is coming from Qatar, where the Lila and the narrowband beacons are at the moment generated in Bochum. So in Qatar, we have running some equipment to generate this DATV signal, which is actually running for a while, quite stable, but yeah, some time ago, we made some changes on the band plan, and also we wanted to give more space for other DATV users. So we reduced the bandwidth, the symbol rate of the signal to 1.5 megasymbols. For some reason, that started a problem on our uplink encoder, which started to crash from time to time. Our DATV group, which is working on that, found out that there is actually a problem in the silicon of the encoder. So it is really a hardware problem on the encoder chip used in that actual device. So for reasons which are still not known, at sometimes the DATV signal gets bad or even completely stops. And there was a workaround at the end because we found out, okay, it's very unlikely that this can be fixed by software. So a workaround was made to every 24 hours perform a reset, like a watchdog reset on the hardware. This usually cured the problem, but it still happens sometimes. Even after 2 hours, it stops again. But we will make another attempt pretty soon. Thomas has prepared another software update for that. Anyhow, if you can't fix it, it has to be like that for a little while until we go back to Qatar. We already planned to go to Qatar this year, but due to COVID, we had to cancel all the trips. So hopefully next year we can go there and install a new upgraded hardware, which hopefully fix that problem. I also have to say that the configuration there is not running as we planned it. It's still running from the shelter and not from the control room. It was planned here in the back on the, I think it was on that side, to have a room there where we can install a Radio Shack. So it was planned to have all this equipment, at least the video equipment and everything in the Radio Shack, and then by fiberglass to the shelter and to the power amplifier. So anyhow, sorry for these hiccups we have there, but anyhow, but still it's I would not say it's an amateur equipment, but it's not the 100% available commercial equipment.
Okay, Peter, thank you. I think that will help people to understand with that we are still working on some improvements, and hopefully when COVID-19 will be a little bit easier, then we can go there and fix the problems. You mentioned in your intro that the Georg von Neumayer station in Antarctica, Delta Papa Zero Golf Victor November, was of course a very important step early this year to get them online and get them here on Oscar 100. We had planned also school contacts. Some happened in the beginning of the year, but I think it slowed down a little bit during the year. Could you please explain why, and when more school contacts will be possible with the station in Antarctica?
Yeah, so there were indeed school contacts with Antarctica, not as much as we planned or hoped for in the beginning. That there were several reasons, as I said already before. Roman, who is the operator there, has also a real job there, even if it's the winter in Antarctica and completely dark outside. They still have a lot of maintenance to do and a lot of technical and scientific work. So he is not always available for such contexts. But nevertheless, we planned them, and we actually will expand this activity in the next months, and and we will continue with the next team, even because there is a new group of radio amateurs going to be there. They will travel to Antarctica in early January, and they will get some training in Bochum soon. So we will continue this from there. Besides that, yeah, the school contacts were arranged by Heiner DD0KP. Unfortunately, Heiner was having some healthy problems, so he is himself very unhappy with the situation. He wanted to do more, but yeah, sometimes life is like that. So anyhow, we thank Heiner really for his tireless, we thank Heiner really for his tireless efforts to coordinate. And again, there is more behind the scenes, because Heiner was also preparing equipment for the schools to give the schools a cheap, an easy entry. You know, schools have no money, so Heiner was really doing a great job getting a dish, a stand for the dish together with a cheap LNB, little power supply. We got 25 SDRs donated from No Elec company, for which we are very thankful that they really support this. They were very kind for that. So all of this is, some schools already have received equipment, others are still waiting for it. We had planned earlier this year a big conference here in the Harz Mountains, about 100 kilometers away. So with the schools together, so there is the AATIS group and the DRC, with whom we made some cooperation to support these projects. This, as I said, this meeting was also completely cancelled, and the planned handover of some equipment was not possible. So anyhow, we actually, with effect from today, we elected or assigned a new AMSAT-DL coordinator, who is also the direct contact person for all future school radio contacts via Oscar 100 with Antarctica, and that is Charlie Delta Kilo 3 Zulu Lima. And we will see Charlie later today as well. He is really a nice guy, and he also made the famous expedition on Q100. So he also has a very good network. He already is in contact with Roman. So yeah, so we expect that the situation there with school contacts will soon improve.
Okay.
And you will hear more about that.
Thank you, Peter. Yeah, there are a lot of more topics you listed in the beginning, but I think I want to shift gears also and move to Michael, address some questions to Michael, Delta 5 Echo Radio. Michael, I think the AMSAT-DL webshop was apparently quite popular in the last year. Can you give us a little bit of an update, what's happening there? Maybe also how many kits you shipped in the last 12 months, and what are the latest news from the webshop?
Yeah, good morning around the world. Yes, as mentioned Peter before, yes, by publishing the solution and the resulting development and implementation of kits, as well as by modifying LNBs for use with our down converters, we are able to deliver a pretty good overall concept. Partly the supply of components are limited or parts were discontinued, so that a new concept had taken place. This then caused a delay in delivery of the modules, especially by modifying the LMBs was affected. Because the manufacturer often changed the layout of the LMBs. The COVID-19 problem was also a limiting factor that led to considerable delays. We have sold from the beginning this year until now 80 LMBs, 80 up converters, and 48 down converters with GPS modules, and 20 down converters with normal OCXO oscillators.
Okay, Mike.
At the moment, the sale is a little bit stagnating. Only 3 to 5 modules are delivered per week.
Yeah, thank you, Michael.
New in the job will soon be a housing kit for our up and down converters to form a transverter. Well, furthermore, there will be 6 watt driver stage, which can be used usually with Pluto by changing the input components or alternator.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, so this new PA will then be an easy way to get the active, especially on the narrowband transponder, with enough gain to support directly the Bluetooth output and then go on the antenna. That's interesting. Michael, Peter mentioned also that you are taking care about the memberships and the administration. I expect that due to the popularity of Q100, that hopefully many new users have been registered to become members of AMSAT-DL. How many members in AMSAT-DL do we presently have, and are we growing in membership?
Yeah, like any other corporation, we are subject of democratic change. Currently, the number of members is more or less stable. This was also a fact of Q100. The current number of members has increased from 483 to currently 565 in the last 4 years.
Okay, so
the level is now stable.
Okay, so we got some people, but maybe this is also a call for all those users on Q100. Please support AMSAT-DL, become a member of AMSAT-DL. I think there should be more joining us. Before, I think we are almost getting to the end of this first session. I would like to ask Thilo. Thilo, you will give a presentation about Sternwarte Bochum right after this interview. I've seen a number of new antennas outside. What are they for, and what are you going to do with them?
Yeah, hello from space. We have been observing satellites here in Bochum since 1957, only around 20 megacycles, and from 1961 also up to 1 gigacycles. Since 2000, we have limited ourselves very much to the radome here in Bochum. Now we are set automatic monitoring receivers for the range from 100 until 500 megacycles. And we are also working on an automatic dish for L and S band, but this is now under construction.
Okay, okay. Do you also have so this will be in the future coming the LNS band. You are going to set up a dish. So what are the main purpose of this LNS band? What would you like to receive with it?
I think the first time we are interested in NOAA high resolution picture transmission and the new NOAA satellites. And also we are interested in projects with the ESS or ARIS. I think we will see what we can do.
Okay, that sounds interesting. Yeah. Okay, so I think we are getting to the end of the first session. Thank you very much to all of you for answering those questions and give us more insight in the activities of AMSAT-DL. We have a few minutes left for questions. Let me check on the YouTube chat and also on the wideband spectrum monitor. I think there are no questions right now.